All right. Yes, gang, we are back for another open court discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis. All right, that wolf growling must be that type of subject or having a week off. That can do it sometimes. Tonight, Monday, July 27th, 9 p.m., we will be discussing the topic hands off, hands up, the new rule book. So, good evening. Tonight's question may have gotten people banned before even asking it. How should a boy defend himself when a girl attacks him? Before you hit the comment button, listen. I didn't say how should boys fight girls. I said defend because in 2026 we taught every boy what he can't do. We never taught him what he can do when he's getting hit, slapped, jumped, spit on, or lied on. See that? That's the approach tack. But there's a second tax, the self-defense tax. A boy gets slapped in school. If he blocks it, he's suspended. If he walks away, he's bullied tomorrow. If he records it, he's a snitch. If he hits back, he's a criminal. Lose, 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 and lose. So tonight, we're doing what schools want, what dads are afraid to, and what TikTok therapists call violent. We're giving boys a rule book. Uh, Rule number one, the law says you can defend yourself. Biology says you're stronger. Society says you're wrong either way. So your defense has to be twice as smart, not twice as hard. Rule two, in Maryland, where I'm sitting right now, you have a duty to retreat. That means your fists are your last tool, not your first. Your first tool are your feet, your phone, and your mouth, in that order. Rule number three, if you do touch her, it's to stop harm, not to deal harm. Restraint, push off, create space. The second she stops swinging, you stop moving. Anything after that isn't defense. It's footage for the prosecutor to play in slow motion. And here's the part that gets us canceled. She knows this. The girl who who does this knows you can't hit back. That's why they pick you. So we're not raising victims, we're raising witnesses. Record, report, remove yourself because in today's court, the first person to call 911 is the victim. The second person is the defendant. Uh, so, parents, if you don't want your son on World Star, teach him this tonight. Boys, if no one's giving you permission to, to protect yourself without becoming what she says you are, permission granted. But do it smart, do it legal. But once, but do it once. We're not here to start a gender war. We're here to end the one being fought on your son's body with no rules. Up next, the fourth step: feet, phone, witness, hands method, and why he should have just walked away is advice we only give to boys. This is the controversial counselor and the big bad wolf. Welcome to Hands Off, Hands Up, the new rule book. That was a lot. That was a lot, but a very important subject matter. I could say I see it on a daily basis. The aggression of these young ladies on these boys, and it just floors me. Sometimes the things they do, you just haul off, smack them in the face, smack them in the back of the head, and push the dog shit out of them. And the boys, Many of the boys be trying to have restraint, like, yo, go ahead, go ahead. And I often tell the girls, like, listen, that's not gonna fly with everybody. One of these boys is gonna haul off and cold cock you, and and they're gonna say they have grounds. And we know that a lot of parents and mothers, fathers, maybe a lot of mothers say that, fathers, hey, they might say it too. If somebody put their hands on you, knock their ass out. Eh, but a lot of times you hear women say that to their sons. And and what can you really do? But we know the law says one thing, like I read in the intro, so it's a lot. But before we get into all of that, any housekeeping news, I got a couple shout outs. Shout out, a couple birthday shout outs. Shout out to my cousin Deshara. Welcome to the 40 Club, aka she's better known by the family as D Bird. Just turned 40. Man, when my little cousin started turning 40, I mean I'm old. I mean I'm old. Uh Also, shout out to my cousin Mary Maxwell Moore. Happy birthday. I hope you're enjoying yourself in Mexico. Also, happy birthday to one of my long working administrators that I worked with probably for the most years in the schools. You, Mr. John Uber, happy birthday as well. Worked with him for like 7 years at Golden Ring Middle, and we had a good time, had a good partnership. Also, happy retirement to Errol Spence, Errol the Truth Spence, boxer who fought his last fight on Saturday. He was the one who fought Terrence Crawford about 3 years ago. Had got into Before that, had got into a major car accident where his car flipped over. Had a lot of facial bone injuries. Also had a detached retina from boxing, and he came back. And had a couple championship fights and did well until he ran into Terrence Crawford, and he kind of wasn't himself that fight and got kind of demolished. And then he took 3 years off, came back, fought in Australia against Tim Zoo, and he wasn't himself. Whatever, equilibrium was off, no balance. He was a come forward type fighter, always on the aggr- always on the aggressive, but he just didn't have it. He tried his best, but I in a way, I'm glad he didn't win because I think that would have gave him a false bravado to step up the competition, and I don't want to see him get hurt or take any more punishment. So he said he got all his faculties. He managed his money right. I think he said I heard him say from the Terrence Crawford fight, he haven't even touched that money yet. He's kind of a low key guy, country guy, on the farm, raise animals and just chill. But I guess because he was a introvert, that's what led him, and the more his celebrity rise led him to start hanging out, drinking to try to feel comfortable, and that's how he got into that, maybe that accident. But it was some other stories behind that too. But now he's just said he's not drinking, just home, just trying to deal with his family and enjoy it. But happy retirement. I mean, anybody who boxes and knows that it's a lot of grueling punishment. If you can walk away with your faculties and with money, you did a good job. You did a great job. So I wish nothing but the best for him. And that's all I have. So that's how I want to start it off. Besides, shit, going in the stores and seeing all this back to school shit is just very annoying. That it's almost August.
Low key traumatizing. Mm.
Big Bad Wolf,
August
what
for
you
me
got
means
going on?
it's reached this peak. August for me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I just want to
Can you
kind
hear
of,
me?
yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
I just
August
want
for
to try to
me
work
is
with this
we
volume.
done hit the peak of the season. Okay. Yeah, August for me means we done hit the peak of the season. Usually that's about the All Star game, so we're closing in on the MLB All Star game, and for then it's pretty much downhill. We look forward to it because the summer just wears us out. It really does, man. It's breakneck pace. We get a couple hours reprieve, especially on the overnights. Usually between 2 and 5, you kind of get a little lull outside of the phone ringing and people coming in. PSA, people,
All right. I'm back
I
now. I'm
can't
good.
I can't express this enough. In the summer, the peak of tourist season, assume that anywhere that you are going to visit, you need at least two things. One, a means of getting there and back. It's got to be rock solid and it has to be able to withstand delays in weather. I know we generally don't think about the weather in the summer, but we do have thunderstorms, we do have things that can obscure that travel schedule. So make sure whatever it is, whether it's car, rail, or plane, that it can withstand some disruption. Number two, and most importantly, hotel reservations. Don't think you're going to get somewhere and then the last minute find a room. You're not going to. Why? Because everybody's going to where you're going. Full stop. I said it. Because we're tired of answering the phones. We're tired of answering questions about why we don't have vacancies. You're not the only person that wants to see something. Okay? Yes, even in Little Niagara Falls, the thousands of rooms we have, we're sold out from night to night. So please don't rely on Booking. Don't rely on Expedia. Rely on the fact that you called 3 months ahead of time and made sure you had rooms. Because the shit gets annoying trying to answer people and get them to understand that no, we're sold out. And we don't need to explain to you why. Okay.
Well, another thing, I seen some video footage. Was Shaq really in Niagara Falls?
I saw that, I don't know. I If I go down to the falls, which this summer, unfortunately, because I'm working as much, is usually few and far between. Usually, and I stress usually, if something like that happens, we have a gentleman here who's a professional photographer. He usually gets shots of that. So I don't know if Shaq was, and it's very possible we get people of high status that come to the city all the time, and they do that. So it's possible. I'll do some digging. I'll do some fact checking, and I'll reach out to a few people. But I saw that. I was like, oh, that's wild. But I usually, when they come here, they're doing a shoot in Buffalo. And being at Buffalo and Niagara Falls is a half an hour drive. It's more than it's nothing to come here, walk around the falls, and then go back and do whatever it is you do, eat, rest up, and then fly out in the morning. That's not. It really isn't that difficult.
And
This
I
is why
read,
the music. This. Go ahead.
I read something that he, I don't know, was DJing a party or something in Buffalo.
Yeah, so absolutely very possible. When I saw the clip, I was like, oh, what was he? I was like, all right. Until I have some evidence that says otherwise, I had to go with the fact that he was there. I mean, we saw the background. That's not AI. I know AI is capable of doing some great things. AI is not capable of mimicking Niagara Falls, particularly where they were, like you can some other things. They were actually, I could damn near pinpoint. They were about 150 feet from the brink of Niagara Falls. Now there's Niagara Falls runs horizontal, Bridalville's on the other side, and then in the candy cane shape is a horseshoe or the Canadian Falls. They were on the U.S. side, not too far from the brink. So yeah, it was kind of seeing that, and
Now,
I would
also,
advise people. Go ahead.
I noticed some people. I don't. They didn't write too much details, but they commented on the video like what's so funny about that because when he acted like he was going to jump over the falls and people. So if you know Shaq, you know he's a big clown and he likes to play. So that's just Shaq. I don't think he thought about, oh, people actually jump over here. I mean, he might not even got he doesn't get the probably the news, the local news, or
No, no.
with his schedule and all that. I'm doubt if he even looks at like local news like that, unless it's sports related or something. I can't say what he looks to or listen to or not, but I, the intent was not to be ignorant or whatever. It was just him being him, a jokester. So again, that's why I always talk about you gotta know your personnel before you
Right.
respond and take offense to something like that. Because I'm sure he was not making mockery of people who have taken their lives jumping over the falls. He was just joking around, being Shaq, who he is, his personality.
Yeah, I was just gonna you beat me to it. I was just gonna comment on that. But people, in all seriousness, don't do what he did because what people don't know, and unless you're local, they are paid to prevent the loss of life. So both sides of the border, they'll call out whatever emergency apparatus is capable of that time at literally preventing someone from taking their lives. Just like I believe it was last year, the lady drove in her vehicle. They almost got her out, literally. And that's how good these people are. Granted, they risked their lives, whether it's the helicopter because of the prevailing winds and then the circular winds. So yes, even though we understand that Shaq personality, please don't do that because if you fall over or whatever the case might become, they're coming to get you and they're gonna
Yeah,
try their damnedest. So
I'm not
just
even playing
note
around
to the
like that.
unwise.
I don't even really like getting up against them rails looking down there. I just nah. So it's
And you know what's funny about that statement is when I walk over, and yes, for those of you who don't know, you can walk across Rainbow Bridge from Niagara Falls, New York to Canada, Ontario, or sorry, to Ontario, Canada. I always get kind of leery looking over and I'm like, just imagine if you fall. So
yeah.
yeah, it keeps the presence of mind in your back of the mind that that's not nothing to play with. So yes, those of us who are local, we understand the ramifications of certain things.
All right. Well, back to why we here. Hands off, hands up. The new rule book again. Well, first I want to say, her what was your thought process when you came up with this subject matter? I know the importance of it. Like I said earlier, it just it's outrageous in the school setting, and it also leads to a lot of abuse in the home with women and men, and many times women putting their hands on men, and they don't report it or anything, and it just becomes a continuous thing, and then eventually somebody may snap or whatever the case is. But I understand where it comes from in both ends, adult and childhood.
There's been, at least from what I've seen, particularly on Facebook with the animated sketches, there's been a proliferation of violence, if you will, predicated upon men. And no one has been banned. No one has lost an account. No one's account has been restricted, at least to my knowledge. And it continues to pour out there. I got a file of saved videos, and we chuckle at them because we understand the humor behind it. But if the gingers were switched, you would have everybody crying about the violence against women, the misogyny against women. But we never hear this about men. And we ask ourselves, have men unwillingly and unwittingly become the heel that anytime you want to make fun of, you go to them? Are men still the bumbling men that they put in sitcoms from the 1970s up until maybe about the early 2010s? Because now you don't tend to see it too much because a lot of television is is reality TV, and even then, in some situations, men are still being made to look like they don't have a clue. And you and I know personally, and we know professionally, that men are just as capable of being good fathers, good teachers, good administrators, good managers, and that's rarely shown. We're really shown to be compassionate. We're really shown to be capable. We're definitely shown to be idiots, to be morons, to just not have a clue. There was a movie out, and I can't remember uh the name of the movie. The guy from Tool Time was in it, Tim Allen, and a few other men. And I think it was Daddy Daycare. And it made it look like that men could not do simple things at home. And that's where a lot of the rhetoric comes from, that men could not do what women do if the roles were changed, if the woman was a breadwinner and a man had to stay at home. And I'm thinking, when did men not be able to bottle feed a child, change a diaper, make a dentist appointment, make any type of medical appointment, or take kids to practice and back, whether it's a sports practice, rehearsal for a play. We see it all the time. I've done it. I've done it with kids that weren't mine. I've taken them out of town and returned them not a hair out of place. People say, well, you should be able to do that, this, and that. We know what we should be able to do, but why don't we get credit when it's done and done well? Nobody wants to talk about that. There's always the one off, the something that goes wrong that nobody could have predicted. Case in point, with the young man losing his life for going over the young girl's house. See, we don't look at those situations and say, you know what, we need to arm our young boys. So not only can they protect themselves from themselves, but so they can protect themselves from the world. Because it's very few situations out here that do not, and you're going to hear me correctly, that do not mean males harm. Yes, when that girl invited him over to her house, she knew specifically what her mother might do if she caught him there. Now, just imagine if that young man had a father. You don't think his father would have told him something about that? Maybe even kind of say, hey, look, you need to bring your behind home right now. I understand you're 20 years old. I understand you getting into that point in stage in life where you want to do things, but tonight's not that night. Stay your ass at home. And we've seen that in Boys in the Hood. But people don't give fathers that type of credit. They say, no, he just got lucky. No, he can't do that. He doesn't know enough to do that. Why? Why do we think men are incapable of being sentient creatures? I don't know. I know where it comes from, but I don't know why it keeps prevailing when there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of incidents where the father was proven right.
Well, according to Prince Ella, men are incapable of love. Speaking of her, I haven't seen her in a while. She locked up somewhere. Haven't seen her in a while.
I still think she's applying the trade. I think she's trying to think of her next trick. But man, it's funny you say that because yeah, I mean, that type of rhetoric it's harmful. It's harmful and it's counterproductive to the message that needs to be put out there. And the message is this: you can't have a coin and the coin has one side. The coin has to have two sides because that's how we get balance. So starting out, and because a lot of young men in this country and abroad, doesn't matter where they are, they're operating at a deficit. And when I say they're operating at a deficit, they're operating at the fact that they have A lot of them, not all, a lot have one full time parent. Because I saw a lady ask on Facebook. She said, "Well, how do I teach my son how to defend himself?" And that was an excellent question. Not because he asked the question, because she admitted that she doesn't know how to teach him how to defend himself. And that was one of the things that David read. So if you, as a mother, you can't teach him how to defend himself, then you can't teach him how to advocate for himself. And that's another thing that Dave read in there, is how to advocate for himself. Sometimes that requires you walking away. Sometimes that requires you restraining the person. But how do you restrain a person so you don't get caught in court? Because as David said, that DA is going to use that tape over and over. It's like the magic bullet in I can't remember the movie. Ricochet's here, Ricochet's here, Ricochet's here. It's almost you can't win if you're a male. So sometimes the best way is to be able to identify the potential trouble before it gets to your doorstep.
Well, I have a theory on this. When I think about this young generation or these kids, for one, they don't play outside. Uh, Not like that. Maybe the younger kids, the little kids, be outside, but like when they start getting into the secondary level, like element, like fourth, fifth grade, middle school, you don't see them out here playing. They don't like back in our days. We would get into fights,
Yeah,
so and you would take L's. And you may lose one day. The next day you come out, you might whoop ass. It'd be the same person, uh, but y'all know each other so well. Y'all knew each other. Like I know what he gonna do. I know he gonna try to do this or try to do that. So next time I'll be prepared. But you fought, and it wasn't fights that ended up like damn. Somebody ended up in the hospital and all that. It was like you fight. Then after a while, it'd be a crowd and in the circle, and then after a while, they might be like, all right, that's enough. If nothing came out of it, y'all break that up, and then you may even shake hands and go back on doing riding your bikes and being cool or whatever. But you had those battles that you had to go through, and I know growing up, we had battles that we would, and I grew up on North Avenue, and we would go all over across town, Jordan Gardens, Unity Park, Center Court. And sometimes we would have to have little battles with people. And it wasn't like battles like we were like serious fights, but it might just been like wrestling matches or okay, we got seven people here, y'all got y'all seven. What's up?
yeah,
And you have to battle it out. These kids don't have that. They don't have that. They don't even play tackle football in parks or anything, or so the competitive nature or how to defend yourself or how to problem solve, they lack that because sometimes in certain situations you would know like, man, I'm just gonna walk away from this. Or
right.
I don't want that smoke with him. I don't want that smoke with her because she got three big brothers and they crazy. So and I don't really got no backup like that. All my cousins is females, and so I gotta walk away or I gotta humble myself or whatever. These kids don't know they don't have that. So it's kind of hard. So when they get to places that's supposed to be a controlled environments like schools, they cut a damn fool. This is it. They don't know how to respond or handle situations. And then I'm gonna say this too, and I don't care. In schools, it ain't about. Sometimes it's not about. Oh, this person's an excellent teacher, or they graduated from here. You need muscle in school.
Yeah,
That's why one of the things they talk about is school safety and stuff like that. You can have safety assistants. You could have SRO, school resource officers, but it's only one or two of them, and you might be in a school like my middle school, like 1,300 kids, and you may have one SRO, maybe two. You lucky on the day, some safety assistants, but that still don't cover the whole school. And other than that, the muscle has to come from teachers. They weak as hell. Then shit, shit just falls. It falters. But I can tell you this, and I said it a couple shows ago. Who retired from breaking up and doing all that? It's me. I'm done. I'm 56 years old. So don't rely on me being the muscle. Because all it takes for me to break, slip, fall, do something ain't hurt. I ain't 25. I ain't 30. So I have to be conscious of that as well. So you have to start when you interviewing. I know it sounds crazy, but you might have to look at that person like, I don't know about that in the classroom when something go down. What the hell they gonna do? And it's unfortunate because they may be excellent in the content and all that. But there is a thing called classroom behavior, that classroom management, and if you can't manage, as one of the great principles that I worked under, he said, if you can't manage a class, you can't teach,
Right.
which is true. So all of these things play in a factor, like in school wise, why some of the kids do what they do, how they respond, because certain situations they're not used to being in conflict out on the street on a daily basis. Because when we was younger growing up, shit, we had conflict all damn day long. There was conflict. It was something. Somebody took your bike, they was gone, or they flattened your tire, or they got a flat in your tire, or just a bunch of nonsense that happened throughout, especially in the summer, because we had to get up, get dressed, get out there. And we was out there all day long. So you would run into numerous conflicts throughout the day. And you would patch it up, and based on experience, you got better with dealing with certain conflicts. These kids, not so much. Not I don't see it.
Yeah. And an excellent point. They don't see it. Like David said, they're not outside because every potential situation can turn ugly. This is why it's important to be, like David said, KYP, and it's paramount for teachers, SROs, and any staff, whether it be janitorial staff or just somebody passing through, to understand where your points of interest are. And when I say points of interest, I mean places that within 10 to 15 seconds an explosive event can occur. And when I say an explosive event, I mean two people putting their hands on each other. So if we were to ask this to the rank and file parent, do you think the parents will have a general understanding of where that one or two places might be? And as far as parents know, they shouldn't be fighting anyway. But what they should be doing and what happens aren't even in the same universe. Because the number one place and point of interest that should be of a parent's concern is anywhere that students gather. That could be bus stop, the bus, outside if they gather outside waiting to get into school, and one that's probably overlooked and not even thought about, the lunchroom. And I assure you, if you go into a lunchroom and you hear some of the chatter, you will wonder why these kids don't fight more than what they do. Because the lunchroom is where you see where things go down. You see where things go down by class. You see where things go down by intelligence. And when I say intelligence, I'm talking about grades. Because because these kids, they self-identify and they self-separate. And now you get into the point where it doesn't even matter about your ethnicity. because that's probably where your friction is going to come in between people of the same ethnicity. Why? Because they all jockeying for position. Well, who
Yeah.
got this? Who got that? Why ain't got this? Why she got that? And they don't know enough that, hey, look, despite the progress that people have made within their class or within their ethnicity, they still fight to get to the top of it because they want to be king of the mountain. They want to be queen of the mountain. We see it all the time. That hasn't changed from when we were kids. And we were kids 30, 40 years ago. Some of the same things that exist then exist now. Talking about your footwear, talking about your clothes, talking about your glasses, talking about what you can get for lunch. You reduce lunch. Oh, I got to pay for mine. Well, I got to pay for mine when you get yours free. Nothing's changed. That's why you go. I know when I started volunteering at Lasso Prep, they had a bully locker. And I'm like, a bully locker? What the hell was that? Well, that's a locker where kids go stand by when they get bullied. What? You mean they don't discuss that among themselves, or if need be, do or female say, look, you're not gonna keep bothering me like that. Something's gonna happen. What and you get into it. And it only takes one time, and I'm not advocating violence, like David said in the prequel. It's about self-defense. It only takes one time for you to stand up to a bully, and guess what? That bully don't exist anymore because now the school knows what the bully is. The bully ain't nothing but a punk hiding behind a facade. And once that facade gets exposed and the curtains get pulled up on it, you got no more bully. Everybody knows now that if I stand up for myself, I'll puff my chest and I'll put my shoulders back, the bully's gonna leave me alone. But we don't teach that. We allow victim mentality to reign. So go tell, go do this, go do that. And I'm not saying any of those things are wrong, provided that you do them right. But the way you actually inform on somebody is, hey, look, dude, you got to leave me alone. If you don't leave me alone, I'm going to go let the people know. And they say, oh, you just this, and this. Okay, yeah, I'll be that. But you going to leave me alone. Because my mother didn't send me here to fight. I don't come here to fight. You want to fight? Go find that other dude that wants to fight. That likes to fight guy. That likes to fight girl. I'm not there. We have to arm people. We have to arm our kids, especially our young boys, with the information and the ability without feeling like they've done something wrong. To say, hey, look, we ain't the two, and I'm not the one.
And a lot of that again is the trust factor. I know that's one thing that I never tolerate. People getting bullied. Even I've told stories about, and I was a quiet type of guy, but in certain situations when it comes to sports or being competitive, that bring out a different beast in me. But far as the school level, no, I don't tolerate bullying. So I always say, if a kid, if you got an issue, well, we about to handle it because I'm about to go step to that kid, and when that kid realizes, oh shit, Mr. Glover stepped to me, and now it's out there, and I say, yo, leave that person alone. They're not bothering you. Like what's your angle? What are you trying to prove? Most of the time, they'll say, yeah, you're right, whatever. And then once, if you know a kid is struggling socially, you
Mm-hmm.
might connect them with somebody that's a little more outward and like don't struggle. And if you tell them, take this person under your wings, and if they do that, then you start seeing the confidence rise in that other kid. Because especially at the middle school level, it's a struggle at that age with the hormones and all that stuff. You come in there, you don't know who to be with, what to say, what to do. It can be tough. And I always tell the middle school kids, like, this is just practice for high school. But when you get to high school, there's a whole bunch of other elements that you have to deal with, far as violence, dating, which a lot of dating violence with younger people too. That that goes on. Like it's a lot of like some of the things that these kids share with me and they read to me and they call themselves in a relationship. And I say, yo, this is toxic. Y'all need to stop talking to each other. First of all, you're only 12 or 13. You're not even built for that. And and after a while, I'm like, I don't even want to hear this stuff, like, because you kind of like it. And I said, and then I'll tell a story for them, and they're like, "Why we got to be like that?" I said, "I just can see you. You know," I said, "If you keep up this pattern, you'll be 30 some years old in a bar club, arguing with some man, going back and forth, and it may get violent because I see some of the tendencies, whatever." And I'll be like, yo, y'all just too aggressive, and man, boys and girls. So you see all of this stuff, and you try to kind of project and make them see for the future, like, yo, if you don't correct this now, this is how this going to be. And even with kids who can't stand up for themselves or anything like that, like I said, I didn't have situations that when I played cataract football, had to stand up for somebody because I felt like, yo, y'all trying to take advantage of this person. He our teammate. It's not cool. They were mad at me. Like, what did that got to do with you? But y'all asking your teammate to bring down money for the concession stand at away games, making him feel discomfort, and we on the
Yeah.
same team. And true story. And like might have mentioned this before, I stood up for the young man. Well, we were both kids, but I'm saying young man. But years later, out of the blue, we standing outside a bar. He said, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, "Man, you probably don't even realize, man, like when we were younger, how you stood up for me, how that changed my life." He said, "You made me feel confident in myself. You made me believe in myself because I told him, I said, I don't give a damn how many people on this team. If it's 48, 50, and it's me and you, we'll go against this whole fucking team." And I meant it. And he knew I meant it. And a lot of the other players, they were my boys. They're like other star players. But I had to check them like, yo, don't ask. Yo, y'all got mothers or fathers or whatever. Don't ask him to bring y'all money. Shit ain't cool. And they obliged, and that was that. And I'm a quiet guy, but like I said, in the sports type of scene, it bring a different element out of me. So, but I respected that. But also, that same thing was in return for me as well, with somebody standing up for me and having my back when I was quiet and looking out for me. So, and then it was funny, and then I passed the mic. It was funny. I just posted a picture. It came up in my memories, and I know her, no Valentino Scarborough, and
Yeah, I saw that.
and I always think about shit. I had to go away to camp because I was quiet and shy, and they thought like, "Damn, did this kid talk?" Oh, and they recommended to my mother, "Oh, he go to the camp." I think we talked about this before. There was some camp. I don't know where it was at, Lockport or something. It seemed like it was forever. We had to get on the bus at City Hall to go there, but it probably was only like 20, 25 minutes away. So I'm at this camp, and my father had said to Valentino, like, "Tino, look out for little David." And he said, I got you, David, I got you. We on the damn bus." And Tino telling C might have been 3, 4 years older than me. And he telling a story like, "Yeah, man, last year I went to this camp." He said it was bears and wolves and shit. So I'm like 8, 9 years old, already don't talk, scared as hell. And he like, "But now this year I came prepared." And he pulled out flick the switchblade, and I'm looking like as the bus pulling off, and I'm like, "Oh my God," like what? I'm so mad at my mother and father. Like, why are they doing this to me? Whatever. Scared as hell. And but Tino looked out every day when I seen him. He said, "You all right, little man?" I said, yeah. So you okay? You enjoying yourself? I said, yeah. Every day we might have been there for a week. Every day he checked on me, and that was big. That was big because sometimes that's all you need for somebody to have your back or you feel safe because it's clearly he was the dude at that camp. Uh, and that's Tino, period. Tino always was a leader type like that anyway. So, man, shout out to Tino Tisdale, whatever they want to call him. No, all the names that he had, but he was a leader then because, well, still a leader. But I was like, damn. And so when we took that picture, he was like, we was talking. I was like, man, I remember. And he was like, man, you know what? I wondered if you remember that. I said, I never forget it. Never forget it. He's like, man, that's what's up, whatever. So I was just thinking, I wondered if you remember. I said, I remember that. That gave me confidence and gave me belief. Uh, because you got to have somebody sometimes. Sometimes you got to have somebody to be the battery in your back.
Yeah.
You get over a hump. All right, that's enough of my little emotional.
No, it's funny though because I don't think a lot of people understand that as a as a as an 8, 9 year prepubescent boy, it becomes viable. It becomes vitally important for you to be able to stand up for yourself because as the boys start entering into that particular point in their life, they're looking around to see who they size up with. And then the other kids are looking around to see who they size up with. And what I mean by that is this: who's the biggest, who's the bravest, who's the baddest, who's the strongest. Now, that's not to size up somebody to see who you can beat. That's sizing up the competition. Because as a boy, it becomes innate to know where I fit in this grand scheme of things they call life. They call high school. Why? Because as a boy, it becomes it's natural for us to be competitive for winning. It's no secret. Puberty doesn't tell us that. Biology tells us that, just like David read in the preamble. Biology tells us, hey, look, in order for you to get that girl you think is pretty, you gonna have to offer her something that she can't say no to. So if she see you in the corner all the time, surrounded by boys, and you looking kind of sheepish, you looking like you won't say no, you looking like you won't punch a hole through a wet paper bag, guess what? She ain't talking to you. Not be hey, you could be the most attractive guy there. But she say if a situation comes down and he has to protect me, and this is innate to her. Can he protect me? She's gonna say no. You can be singing that Far Side song. She keeps on passing me by. And that's why. At a certain point in time, I don't care when that point is reached, I don't care when that time is, as a male, you have to figure out A, how to defend yourself, B, potentially how to defend somebody that you're with. Because it could be a younger brother, it could be a younger sister. Like David said, it could be one of your friends. Now, when I say defend, like I said, that doesn't mean violence. That means sometimes you got to outthink an individual and saying, how can I get myself out of this situation where nobody gets hurt? That's when the critical thinking comes in. That's when the KYP comes in. And that's when, hey, look, if I know I'm faster than you, guess what? I might hop in here, throw one to hit you, and run. And I know if you can't catch me, you can't whoop me. Let's say that happens like that. You go home and say, hey, mom, or hey, dad, I got into a fight today. Hey, look at you. Well, what happened? This dude just that keep running up on me and my younger sister and our friend. And I told him, I said, hey, leave us alone. We don't want no problems. We ain't trying to fight. Well, the dude said, you ain't got no choice but to fight. You say, hey, look, I know he can't catch me. So I hit him. I hit him and I ran. They gonna laugh because it's funny. Because why? They would have never thought about doing it. But they'll say, okay, all right, you know what? I understand. They go to school tomorrow with you. They call the kid down to the office and say, hey, look, we understand he hit you. We can't do anything about that right now. But you got to leave him alone. Because the next time you get him cornered and he's with these two, we're going to have to do something to you that you won't like. Now, we know inherently boys aren't dumb, and we know what that threat sounds like. Either you will get sent to another school or you can be put in this isolation room here that you're gonna hate it. And now you're gonna have even more of a reason to want to fight this individual. And this individual's gonna get to a point one time where they may not hit you with a hand. They may pick up a 2x4, a rock, and hurt you in a manner that you can't do anything about and you can't come back from. And we see that. We see it in the paper. We see it in the paper. We hear about it on Facebook. This person picked up a pencil and jabbed the student, pair of scissors, and jabbed the student, a glass bottle and hit the student, cut him in the eye. And people say, why? Because that person's being preemptive. They've been told, leave them alone. And the same thing goes with girls. They know they can't do too much to girls, but they say, you know what? I've had it. Nobody's doing anything. Every time I get on the bus, she either trips me walking up the stairs, she tripped me walking through the hallways, she banged me into a locker. Her and her friends won't leave me alone. So you know what? I just picked one of them and I teed off on them. And people say, well, damn, all they had to do was tell the teacher you did. Tell the teacher 3 times. The teacher did absolutely nothing. So you let the boy no choice. And he took matters into his own hands.
Mhm. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes that alleviate. All it takes is one. But a lot of times, and I keep going back to us growing up. A lot of times it was built on shit, your family status, who you were related to, who you hung out with, and that alleviated any potential danger, or whatever. And I remember being in junior high, and think, think, oh, shout out to my cousin Squally. He had said that we might have been in ninth grade. He was like, yo, my cousin, he's smart. He do his work. He don't bother nobody. And and he was smaller, but he had hands. Like I said, he probably was one of the most athletic people shit in Niagara Falls. Um, and he had said that he said, "Shit, if you bother him, you got to bother me," and that was enough for people that I never really had to worry about. I could be who I was,
Right.
studious, do what I needed to do, and I remember one of my mother's best friends. She had her son, and he was like, "Man, David a nerd in school, whatever. He quiet, whatever." And I had told my mother. So she had told his mother. Oh, she let his ass have it. She's like, well, that's all right. Your ass better be a damn nerd, whatever, too, whatever. As long as he getting good grades, whatever. And that was where I was talking about the community. Like, yeah, I feel
Yes.
comfortable sharing that with my mother. She shared it with her. So he can back off to quit calling me a nerd or whatever because I'm doing what I needed to do. And again, I was a certain way in school, but out in the neighborhood, shit, I was one of the ones probably provoking and instigating stuff and all that. But again, I think that's an issue too. Time and situation that sometimes you have to put on different hats. And I think the problem now with kids, You wear a hat in the community, but when you walk through the doors of school, you got to put a different hat on.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me, this not really not off the subject, but I was riding today and I listened to some on the radio, and it was like a lot of these HBCUs, and then I know they mentioned Tuskegee, saying that they not the kids can't wear bonnets and slippers to class, and I'm thinking, like, good for them, good for them, because you shouldn't wear that. Now you can throw on some sweatpants some days and all that stuff and be casual. But you can't come in there like this fucking pancake house with bonnets on, like you out there. This is a place of business that you trying to get trained for the next level. So even not even at Tuskegee, I don't like to see kids wearing pajamas at school, slippers and all that. And I always say, and I would tell my son, like, yo, don't go to no school with them slides on. Have sneakers because you don't know what the fuck gonna go down when you have to
Yes,
square up. When you have to square up, or it could be a fire or something. You gotta get. Don't do that. But karma come back on you. He decided, oh, he was gonna go out one day with the sneakers on, and then change into the slides, but he forgot his key. So then he had to go to granny house, mother house, and she's like, "What you? Why are you down here?" I locked my key in the house, and when I came home, I see my dad car, and he got the slides on his face. and she like, oh boy. She was like, well, how somehow, whatever way that I never found out. And she told me after, she like, don't say nothing to him, whatever, because she, you know, sometimes
he's
grandmothers
the buffer.
want the kids to confide in them and don't want to be like the snitch, so let it go. But that was just a thing. Like, you wear stuff, time and situation. You wear things for certain situations. And then when you at a college and all that, you ain't coming to no fucking class with a professor and all that with a bonnet on and slippers and all that. That's not that type of party, and we need to get away from that shit at all levels. At all levels. And I know sometimes, and a lot of times in middle school, they change in a little provocative gear and all that. But other times, parents drop these kids off with pajamas on, slippers, and all that. Ain't that type of party. And that should be the emphasis. It ain't that type of party. It's a place of learning where you're trying to teach professionalism. And because if you do it there, you'll do it at a job and you'll do it everywhere. So we need to stop eliminating that comfort and make people uncomfortable.
It is called ethnic image. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. When that man rest up, he talked about this, and a lot of people were upset with him. They were upset with Bill Cosby. They were upset with Monique. Why? And see, here's something that's tucked in real neatly with that and what we're talking about. People don't see how that can quietly lead to you being ill treated, not mistreated, but ill treated. Because they already talk about the documented cases of a name on a resume means that resume won't even be read, it'll just be discarded. So, how do you think this going to look? Or how do you think that's going to play when you go into a job interview and female comes with a bonnet on? Or he appears in, they call them slides because that's what they call them. I'm gonna call them flip flops because that's what I grew up calling them. Because that's what the sound was. That's the sound they made when you walk. You come in there with flip flops. Come in there looking like you just rolled out of bed, like you don't know that an iron is more than just an element. It's more than just a mineral. It's something you use to make your clothes look presentable when you walk out into the world, so that you look presentable to the world. Those are things that set you up to be bullied. So when you're around your coworkers and nobody wants to talk to you because you look like a slob. Well, damn, take it upon yourself to not look like a slob. Take it upon yourself to pick your afro, brush your hair so your waves pop, or that you just don't look like you just got out of bed after partying for a night. Like it's Saturday night, you stayed in bed till Sunday morning. I mean, the Monday morning, you got up and just walked into a 9:30 interview for a job that's going to pay you $50,000 plus benefits a year. You got to look like you qualify for the job. And that's what people don't understand. And they keep talking about, well, they don't like me because I'm black. They don't like me because I'm young. And no, you don't like you because you black and you look like you don't have any upbringing. This has nothing to do with corporate America. This has everything to do with corporate America's expectations of a person they're paying that kind of money. And if you don't want to dress like it, you don't act like it, and you don't want to behave like it, then hey, it's simple for us not to give it to you. And when you go back home and you talk to your roommate about an extension or your landlord about you ain't got the money because you ain't got a job, hey, look at yourself. Look at the mirror, look at your clothes. More importantly, look at the people you hang out with and their results. Are the results any better? If so, then hey, you might want to mirror what they're doing. And if what they're doing is hanging out a little less, they're showing a little bit more pride in their appearance, then you may want to do that. But these are things that start out when you're young. That's why it's important when you're in middle school to start to develop those habits. That's going to separate you from certain people. And like Dad said, being a studious is one of those things. If the people you hang out with aren't studious, then you have to start in your own mind. You have to start saying, "Look, they're gonna cost me some money. They're gonna cost me some opportunities. And if only the best of the best get to go to DC, and I know I want to go to DC, then you know what? I have to start doing certain things. They may not like them. They may call me a sellout. They may call me a brown noser. They may call me Uncle Tom, which they always get wrong. But we'll talk about that some other time. You got to do them, and you have to accept the outcomes as they come. Because some of the outcomes are going to be great. Some of the outcomes, you gonna feel a certain kind of way because they're taking you away from people you've known for your your youth, some of your high school year. You got to make those decisions. They're not easy, but they're worth it.
Yeah. And it brings me to the whole kind of switch gears when you think about all this is even this whole subject matter about, you know, hands off, hands up, um, the new rule book, even in as an adult and stuff, some people know what makes you tick and they try to provoke you. And you may know the you may know to have a bigger picture. You know you got a good ass sweet job and you in a toxic relationship and that woman wants you to she really can't stand you and she really wants you to blow your casket, whether she's poking, pushing on you, doing saying shit, going on social media saying shit. Either sooner or later you have to have the ability to walk away, uh, or depending on the situation, we had kids and all that stuff, to say, I don't fuck with you on that. You can say what you want to say. Keep going at it because eventually, when you don't respond to people, they have to find some other outlet, somebody else to pick with, or whatever the case is. And that's what it's saying. Uh, Silence is golden, and sometimes speech is silver. Sometimes not saying anything, like you can't even rattle me or whatever. But if somebody could smell blood and know they can rattle you, they're gonna keep doing the same stuff. And it's like I always say, it's always parallels. Even with middle school, I tell the kids like, you keep responding to it, they're gonna keep going. As soon as you stop responding to it, they'll find someone else. Not that that's a good thing, but you're the one right here in front of me that the onus, everything will be off of you. And you just got to be aware that there are some people that they gonna provoke you. They gonna say little stuff, whatever. Oh, you think you this? Oh, you think you better than this? You said, no, I don't think that. You don't feel good about yourself. That's the issue. That's the issue. I don't throw up degrees and all that because, and I could tell you this personally, after going through it, degrees don't mean nothing. If I could do it all over again, I wish I was nice with my hands and able to create wealth like that. But that's the message that people try to put out there to berate you or belittle you. But also on another note, I don't know if we talked about that the last time, but also in the summertime, I'll come up, I'll watch some videos and all that. I don't know. I guess one of the CEOs or whatever, like I forgot, I should have wrote it down. Global companies had mentioned that, and we always talked about this, that college, college and all that is shit is dead right now. Like he was pretty much saying that kids need to get a trade.
Oh,
Kids need to get a trade, and that's something we had been talked about, and something that we had mentioned that they need to bring the all of that stuff back into all schools, some segments of it, and all that. But they ended up making it into more of a competitive thing. Oh, you got to take a test to get in this program. You got to take a test to go to this school to weed people out because, as far as us as uh, young black men, we always been nice with our hands
yeah,
in certain areas. That was the probably a prerequisite for success in the future. If you can work your trade, get out, get good money. If you had a family, you'll be all right. But when you start removing all that and you have to take a test and try to make it competitive and all that, and sometimes I hate to say it, as young blacks, we don't use our competitiveness to be transit into the classroom. Because to me, when you're a competitor, you want to be the best at everything.
yeah.
Shit, if I'm the best basketball player, eventually, soon later, you want to be the best in the classroom. Now, you get perks and all that stuff for probably being there, but you organically want to be the best. You want to get the most out of what you can in the classroom setting to up your antics, like create more opportunities and all this stuff. So all this stuff is all connected, and we always talk about it one way or the other. You know, the hands off, hands up is more of the female aggression, but all this stuff is connected, and I think is one theme that since we've been talking, shit is your self belief in yourself and your ability to advocate, and again, belief in yourself, your confidence level. If you're a young man, to be able to fight off all of that aggression or toxic energy people bring to you. When you solid with who you are, sometimes that stuff you just look at it like, I'm not thinking that shit don't even fade me. But you got to get a person to that point.
Uh, like I was saying earlier, when puberty hits, Males are sliding themselves, and it's not about fighting, but it is about seeing who can earn. Because the more you earn, the more you can do, the better quality of life you have. Yes, that means, generally speaking, the more attractive female you're gonna have the opportunity to populate with. Now, I know people are gonna say, "Well, why does that always have to come down to how attractive a woman is and what you can do for?" Because that's what society says. Men don't make it like that. Men understand that role. So no matter how far removed we get from blue pill, red pill, all of this, it all boils down to a few essential things that is always going to be incumbent upon the man. Dave just mentioned one. Can you produce? Number two, can you protect? Now, protection, that word, few different few different things. One, pro. Can you be proactive in dealing with certain situations that might come your way? In other words, if you got to go somewhere and you know this somewhere people are prone to acting a fool, so you got invited to your cousin's wedding, and the after party is gonna be in this bar where people come, they get a little saucy. Are you gonna wear some slides, or are you gonna go there dressed in some footwear and some clothes that if you got to get busy, you can be comfortable in your busyness? Because I've seen situations where people go in a tux and everything. Oh, I ain't got nothing to worry about. It. Next thing you know, they got a scrap, and it's kind of hard to scrap with a tuxedo on as opposed to just a button-up shirt, a nice pair of loose pants, and some sneakers, or as the sneakers they got now, dress sneakers. Which one do you think you're gonna be more apt to be able to defend yourself in? Just asking. No answer required. Your appearance would answer that question. And then there's the protection ahead of time. You got to send your young man off on a school trip. Now, you know your son has some enemies there that don't like him because their fathers don't like you. They send him, they sent them at him on multiple occasions. So, how do you tell your son how to defend himself against the potential of two attackers? They might corner him. Do you tell him carry a weapon with you? Or do you tell him, hey, look, don't never be out past a certain hour in a certain place where you know that they may go? Even though your son likes to party in the same places they go, your son's gonna put his safety first. He's gonna say, you know what? I'm sorry, y'all. I can't party with y'all tonight. I gotta go get in bed early. Why? You ain't got no school tomorrow. It's just the point. I need my rest. Now, the thing about that is this. Some people want to know. They want to know why he going home early. Is there a problem? Is there something he's dealing with that we don't know? And it could be a bunch of those things. Sometimes you don't have to let people know how you deal with certain things. That's none of nobody's business but your own. So yeah, it could be some people that you just don't want to deal with. They assholes. They want to fight, and you ain't got the time to fight them. You got places to go. And this is what I used to tell my kids when they would come into my intake program. And I would tell them, I say, simply tell them, you got places to go and things to do that they don't want to do, and places they don't want to go, just leave. You don't owe them no explanation. And if you got to run, run. Because it's better for you to run away from trouble than to stand there and let the trouble consume you. Because at a certain point, you're going to get tired of being beaten on and you're going to be proactive with the violence. And that's not what you need to do because that only leads you in the circle to where you will either hurt somebody or you're going to be hurt. So it's better to get your ass out of there and going about your business because I've done it. I'm not going to choose you to do anything that I haven't done. I just did it when I was at Abbott. And I did it for the rest of the year until I was taken out of that false home. Now, that's not a story that I get too deep into just because the people involved, they still around, and I don't want to have to deal with that shit as an adult. I've dealt with it as a kid. Yes, I ran. I would dip out a door that they weren't looking for me in. And by the time they saw me, guess what? I was on top of the hill. They were screaming out, "There he is, get him!" Vapor trails. By the time they got to the hill, I was home. We're gonna have to do the song and dance again. But every time the song and dance comes up, I was at the finish line. They was just getting to the starting blocks. And that's a true story. I'll tell you about that one day, Dave, when we off air, you go crack the fuck up. You go crack the hell up. But true story, man. I had to run for about 2 weeks straight. And I had an older brother who would have stood by my side, but I was like, you know what? There's no need to get him in trouble behind some kid shit, which is all it was kid shit. And I ran home. I ran home every day after school for about a month straight because I had to put in some work. I'm sorry to say, I had to put in some work, and the relatives of the person that put the work in wasn't happy, and they was like, "Are we gonna do you the same way?" I was like, "I'm not. That ain't gonna happen. That's ain't gonna happen because I wasn't the catalyst. I was standing my ground. They tried to run at the dude, and they didn't realize that I was quiet. But these got busy. I was like, hey, that person knows their place now. They won't do it again. Guaranteed. And I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying. I had to do what I had to do, even though I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and that's, again, situational awareness. Like sometimes you have to do what you got to do to be able to live to see another day. Uh, and that's what it's about. And again, like I said, sometimes it's about being able to handle conflict and saying, you know what, I'm not about to do this. Shit, if you have to run, you have to walk away, or whatever the case is, till you get into your safe zone. So, but these are things that has to be taught to boys. Because a lot of times they get caught up in crossfire and all that stuff, and you have to tell them, listen, uh, certain situations you want to stay away from, and certain things, even when they're younger, and they may, certain sneakers, certain watches, and all that that young people are after. And you want to floss with that on, and you become a target. Sometimes you may have to fake it and say, well, if I'm a high school kid or even a middle school kid, because they was after people with citizen watches and all that stuff, and like ski mask and different things that they would be after. Sometimes you just got to fake it and say, you know what? I don't wear that at school, but on the weekends I could rock this or that because I'm with a different crowd. You just gotta you gotta have situational awareness and pay attention to your surroundings. Back in the days that certain areas or certain places you couldn't wear this, and I remember being in Chicago when we were younger, and I always liked to wear my hat kicked to the side or something like that. And my cousin's like, "Yo, cousin, we go to the store, you have to put your hat on straight." And I was like, "Why?" It's like, cause like if you have it one way or shift it another way, it represents something. And I'm like, shit, okay. Let me put this shit on straight. I ain't from here. I know I'm in Chi-Town. Shit, shit, what? The third biggest city in the United States. So shit, you gotta pay attention to what people tell you. You know, because there's some people like, I don't give a fuck. I wear my hat the way the fuck I want to wear it. Then when you get checked, now you putting other people at risk when somebody told you ahead of time. You might want to straighten up. You might not want to wear them colors here
Yeah.
or there and all that. Gotta pay attention. You gotta listen to people who've been through things who may be familiar, even though you may have a little cocky attitude. Because I think the biggest problem is people don't want to be told nothing. They don't want to be told nothing. Uh, Whether it's female, males, in relationships, people don't want to be told nothing. See, myself, I like to learn things that I don't know, and I'm not gonna hold that against you. If you got a good medical background and you know certain things, and I'm struggling, you say, hey, you might want to lighten up on that. I'm gonna listen, or anything like any particular thing. I always say we always mention this word inter interdependence. Like some people have certain strengths, certain people have certain weaknesses. Uh, it ain't about it, it ain't about being independent. Sometimes it's interdependence. Like shit, counting and dealing with people that shit, y'all strengths and weaknesses come together. Yeah, but the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is sometimes you just gotta listen. What people tell you who have certain knowledge or expertise in certain areas. As I say, when I was in Chicago, and he was like, "Yo, you might want to put your hat on straight." Sometimes you gotta listen, but when you think you know everything and you cocky and you have attitude, you're like, "Oh, I'll do it for. I want to do whatever." Eh, you might run into more problems.
That shit's real. Just like they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans. And you can play that fly guy, position all you want to. But when you out of town and somebody tell you something, especially somebody who's from that place, listen, do what they do. It's a temporary it is a temporary setback, and you get to live. Don't be that fool who thinks they have to prove something every time they step out the house. It's not necessary to beat on your chest like you King Kong. If your reputation is solidified, people gonna know who you are, no matter where you go. You don't think Jay Z has to explain to anybody who he is, do you? Shaq, those no, ain't nobody bothering those people, and they can go out by themselves. Now they may be hounded, harassed for autographs, but ain't nobody taking shots at them like that. They know. Now, to the lesser people in the world who making their way, yeah, you might have to do something you don't want. But ask yourself, is that really the worst thing in the world? You do it when you go to work. If they tell you if the dress code is that women have to wear dresses, you're not fighting to wear pants. You want a dress. If you got to wear a blouse, you want a blouse. If men has to wear a tie, you wear a tie. It's a minor inconvenience to get to where you want to. And if you do well in every endeavor that you have planned, that is a rung on the ladder to your brand of success, and you get there, guess what? You can set the dress code. So you might not care for anybody that comes in a do rag. You say self-expression. If you want to come in with your hair streaked 6 different colors, come on in as long as you can do the job. You want to come in wearing slides and bonnets? Come on in. We don't care as long as you can do the job. That's your prerogative to set that. But everybody goes through something. Anybody that goes to the military, you go to boot camp first, no matter who you are. Even if you go to ROTC, you go to boot camp first because they want to make sure at the foundation there's an agreement that when things fall apart, we reset to these values. And it's these values that are going to help us come together to save our collective behind. And that's all we're really talking about is a set of collective rules that boys can follow. And boys can say, look, I'm standing with this dude because he did the right thing. I don't care if he's a guy. There was a female that was messing with him. We all pulled out our cameras. We saw what was going on. We can testify to that because we're tired of having to hide because of our gender. Just because we boys doesn't mean that girls should get free shots at us. They shouldn't be able to hit us with their shoes. They shouldn't be able to spit on us. And I know some of y'all saying that's nasty, that don't happen. Yeah, well, it does. I'm here to tell you, I had a sixth grade student who was suspended towards the end of the year. And all he did was physically defend himself from a girl who spit on him. Now, it turns out that the spitting was the reason why they suspended him. It was because he was doing poorly academically. And how do I know? I sat in on the meeting. I said, all right. I said, fair enough. I said, we're going to get him. We're going to get his grade straight so he can be on course to graduate with his friends and his cohorts. I think it was about a month and a half left in the season. About 3 weeks later, he was repatriated to his homeroom, to his sixth grade class, and he went on to. He's on pace to graduate, if not has already graduated. But these are the type of things that we're talking about. See, we don't want necessarily to have boys in a situation to where they have to physically defend themselves against a girl. We want boys in a situation to where, if that is the worst case scenario, that they've exhausted every means of nonviolent defense possible. So they reported it. They video documented it. They've spoken to the teachers, they've spoken to students, the administrators, everybody spoke to this person and say, hey, look, leave him alone. Because the last thing this student has, if the advocates are doing right, is to put him in another school. But if this boy is the target of everybody who comes near him because of the reputation, then you have to deal with something that's going to impugn the reputation that this boy has earned for whatever reason. He could be a kid that doesn't like to fight. He's quiet, so he's easy to pick on. That's what the school district is there for. And if he's not protected, you could turn around and turn that young man into something that you hadn't anticipated. And trust me, that's not something you really want to deal with.
And to piggyback on that, sometimes it's about teaching young men how to find a safe space. Sometimes you can find administrator, teacher, something that you connect with that's connected throughout the building that they could call off. Like, yo, he chill, leave him alone. They could say that to the young lady. And if they got respect for that person, they may say, all right, I'm going to let him be. And I always mention this story uh, where I remember being at my former middle school, and it was a boy that just kept going at it with this girl, must have called her a bitch and all that stuff. And she was known to have brothers that went to the high school that was like 10 minutes away. And so she came to me. She's like, "Oh, Mr. Glover, I'm about to call my brothers. They coming. I'm about to text them. They coming up here." Well, I met with both of them, and she was trying to tell him, well, my brother's gonna come up here beat your ass, but he didn't want to give no ground. He wanted to be macho and all that. And then once I gave her a pass to go back to class. I told him, like, yo, dude, you got yourself into something that I don't know if you can get out of. Cause I've heard the word that her brothers don't play. And I said, and that's a case of sometimes you got to be aware who you calling a bitch, who you trying to say this to, because they may have bigger brothers that may shit, it look like you about to get folded up. And he like, because all I was trying to do, I need to apologize. No, I ain't apologizing. I'm not apologizing to her. Okay, okay. Later on that day, yeah, Mr. Glover, can I use your phone? For what? I want to call my parents so I can they can come pick me up early. Oh, yeah. Now you rather scared. And and I said, see, if you would have did what I told you to do, I said, because sometimes you gotta fake it to make it, whatever, and just said, I'm sorry, I apologize. Because it was just you're in a safe space, it's just me, you and her.
Mhm.
Nah, you wanted to show out. Now your ass scared as it getting close to dismissal time. Because her brother said, oh, we'll be up there. We'll be up there. And then I don't know if I ran into her and I said, yo, I said, what's going on? And she was like, Mr. Glover, I'm not thinking about this. She's like, he did apologize to me in the hallway or whatever, and I told him not to come up there, whatever. And I said, good for you, whatever. I said, because I don't think it was worth it. I said, but I understand your point. Somebody gonna disrespect you, and you're gonna call your brothers, and they gonna handle it. But
Mediators.
yeah, but for his case, his ass got a major scare. But I always say, understand your dynamics. You may blurt out something, but sometimes people have bigger brothers, relatives, and all that. That's like that. That's like that.
They're about that life.
Yeah. And you have to be aware of that. So she was never worried. She didn't have a worry in the world in the school because she knew she had brothers, and that's the thing. Even growing up, and I think about it, people who had brothers, cousins, and all that. That was about that. They really didn't have worry about nothing. They didn't really worry about nothing because they knew, like shit, you barking down the wrong tree. And unless you have awareness to know who they connected with, then if you are aware of that, then you know that's not a person I would have conflict with.
Right.
But when you go around thinking you Billy Badass, Becky Badass, or whoever, this might run into something. So that boy learned the story or whatever because he was trying to get out of Dodge, but she called the dogs off and said, "Don't come up here," or whatever. And when I think I seen him, I said, "Yeah." I said, for future references, understand who you talking to or whatever. And find, I know it might be the heat of the moment, but sometimes you might have to use other words because you don't know if they got big brothers or cousins or whatever. You need to do some research. And I think growing up, we were aware that like you didn't step to girls' houses
Yeah.
that shit they probably been fine as I don't know what. But if you know pops come through, he worked 7 to 3 or 3 to 11, whatever. You wanted to stay clear of that. That's paying attention to your surroundings. And these kids don't pay attention to surroundings. And I always tell them like little things like, well, such and such said I could use my phone. Well, that was that teacher, but you already know this teacher don't. They're not like that. So why would you think that you could go to that class late, or pull out your phone when you that's not the type of program ran?
Yeah.
So it's always schooling or teaching, and the crazy thing is when you get people that's older now and they think they're not teachable or they're not coachable. I'm still willing to learn. I want to learn to the day I die. I don't have all the answers. If somebody has some insight on something that I don't know and they say, hey, David, you might want to do this or you might want to do that, I'm going to listen. But the problem is when people don't want to listen and they think they have all the answers, then you run into major conflict. So Doc says she always learning. Indeed, I already know you always learning. And that's a beautiful thing. No matter what age you get, you always can learn, especially from the person that you like. Yeah, they pretty knowledgeable, but when you want to buck against people that's knowledgeable in certain areas, and your ass destined for to run into a brick wall, and then you want somebody to bail you out.
Yep.
Maybe it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. It's and some lessons by some people I never learned. And if they are, it's at a point that they can't apply it. So when we talk about these things, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, uncle, non-blood relative, try, because that's all you can ask. We can ask that anyone does is try to impart what we're telling you upon that child that's in front of you. And it's even better if you have a female that you're trying to explain certain things to. You have to explain to her, hey, look, don't use your gender to try and get away with things that you know you shouldn't be doing. Because you're gonna have some females that's gonna push those boundaries, and they're gonna continue to push them until they get beyond a point in which some type of harm comes to them. We're not saying that the harm that comes to them is something that they've earned, but it's something that they found themselves in, that they may have a way out, but the way out is going to cause them to do something that they don't like. And we're not saying sexual. They might have to apologize. But what happens if you got a kid with a smart mouth who's talking about, well, I ain't apologizing for nothing? They're going to have to do what they do. And what if what they do is to leave her scarred up, black and blue? Who's she going to tell? Who's she going to tell that she kept poking this dude? Admins told her to stay away. The boy told her to leave her alone at least 4 different times. And she said, I ain't got to do nothing. You ain't my daddy. I ain't got to listen to you. Until one point that they made her bow down. They may have chipped a tooth. They may have blackened an eye. She come home, and the first things people ask is, who did this to you? Not why. Heavens no. This is my little angel. She don't bother anybody. Until you find out that the angel wings has been, the angel halo's been replaced by a couple of devil horns. You say, I didn't know she was like that. No, because she hit it well. So when you asked her how did things go in school today, she said, went okay. Everything always okay. Even though you know at home with her male cousins, guess what she do? She picks on them. So if she's picking on male relatives at home, that's what she might be doing in school. You guessed it. Picking on male classmates. See, what we don't understand about behavior is the behaviors that a student engages in at home. They're taking them to school with them. Why do you think you see these kids wearing bonnets, pajamas? I guarantee you, if you go home, that's what the parents are wearing. The Addis Diablo doesn't fall far from the tree is this for a reason. So we're not here making this up. We're not here trying to scare you. We're just here to try to alert and ring the alarm that we're going to either raise a generation of boys who are going to allow themselves to be abused, or we're going to raise a generation of boys that we're going to teach themselves that you don't have to be abused. You don't have to be violent, but you can't stand up for yourself. And this is what standing up for yourself looks like. Take it from us. We've been there. We don't want you to go through what we've had to go through. So we're giving you a different set of rules and another book that says, hey, this is what you can do in order to not be abused.
And I know at one point I had spoke on, sometimes you in the heat of the moment, and that woman, that young lady, might be swinging on you, and we can't always say that a man is always physically stronger than a woman because there's some big like girls, big boned, whatever, strong as hell, and you may have a guy that's light in weight, whatever. You should fold his ass up like a pretzel. He isn't really nothing he can do. And shit, even in relationships, whatever. Maybe some women that's bigger and the guy might be tall, lanky, slender, short, and all that. And she really could whoop his ass. So we can't always necessarily say, well, biology, um, but based on biology, that you're stronger. No, that's not always the case. So there's no always. We always talk about there's no absolute. And maybe a situation that that person can overpower him, and sometimes at a certain age, boys don't even know their strength, and
Mm-hmm.
girls are more aggressive. Uh, and it's one of those things that you have to try to let them know, like, listen, even when you think about the restraint, whatever, like ultimately you want to oh, chill, uh, again, create space, whatever, distance, whatever, like, yo, stop playing, go ahead, I'm not trying to do this, whatever. But someone, they just keep coming, they just keep coming, they just keep coming. And ultimately, some guys may, if you've grown, whatever, you may, if you can do all that to get away, you just got to walk out the door and just
Yeah.
leave. Now, some guys may be like, well, I don't have nowhere else to go. So they don't leave, and that's where the whole barn burner thing just end up chaos. But if you can go away, walk away, whether your mother, your sister, your brothers, or cousin, somebody live with, probably want to escape that route and go that route. Some people just, oh, I ain't going nowhere. And she's like, I ain't going nowhere. Yeah, going at it. And that's more of adulthood. But even when you think with kids, whatever, like I said in the promo, I guess if you walk away, they may look at you as like you soft. But I think it depends on the people that you talk to once you walk away that may make you feel like you made the right decision. Because, like I said, in a school setting, these women are aggressive and shit. Even in the social scene, is with adults, some of these women, you're like, holy shit, like, damn, this woman out of control. We know Doc ain't like that. She's docile,
Doc's still
relaxed,
on the court.
chill. But some of these other women, they just be so happy they outside, and they don't give a damn. So, as a man, you may be like, "Yo, I'm not even about all of that." So again, as we talk about this, it's connected to all areas. Like, you got to try to avoid conflict that you don't want it to result into violence. But even though some women will try to provoke you, and some guys, their leash is not long as others, they may snap. They might always have behavior issues. And see, and I think that's when the shit end up going the wrong way. That a woman might not know her personnel, might not know his background. And
Yeah.
shit, somebody could end up getting seriously hurt. So that's why you probably got to have conversations about throughout. Tell me about your when you were in high school, how things were. What type of student were you? Or you gotta have those random conversations.
And you know what the funny thing about that is people don't think those conversations, they don't think that information matters. That's the scary part. It's like in your high school days, those are your formative days. Those are the days that you actually probably get the most leniency when you're dating because people understand you're making those mistakes, but they think you're supposed to get the same opportunities in your 20s and 30s. Ooh. If you were putting your hands on people and you were in high school, oh, uh, red flag. Because that's when you had the ability to start. Now, and hear me, there's a difference between a catalyst and a reaction. If I'm a catalyst, meaning that I'm provoking somebody to engage in a certain action, and that action comes, then I can't necessarily fault the person who's defending themselves because I'm causing an action. And we get a lot of young girls that are doing this, professional victims. They're messing with these boys, they're messing with this boy, and this boy haul off and pop. Next thing you know, they're showing up the next day with a black eye. And this happens consistently for 2 or 3 years. Graduation comes, they get up on the stage, get the diploma, and they're wearing shades. Everybody know why. They just don't know who. And people are sitting in the audience saying, we're not surprised because every 6 months, since the beginning of her junior year, somebody popped in the eye. Is she provoking him? Probably. Because if you're dealing with multiple guys, you get the same outcome. It ain't the men. It ain't the men. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but like David said, KYP, and part of KYP is KYS. Know yourself.
Yeah, that's the bigger thing, knowing who you are, or whatever, whether you're in denial about it or not. Sometimes you can say, yeah, I'm a shit starter. Every relationship I get into, it always ends the same. And you have to look at yourself. But a lot of times people don't want to admit that, yeah, I'm probably the problem. The common theme is no matter who I talk to or whatever I do, it's always some shit. I don't get in, I have issues with my siblings. And every
Mm.
time it's a family function, I'm one of the ones in the argument or whatever the case is. It's just you. Sometimes it's just you, no matter what environment. At at work, I'm always at odds with somebody. Sometimes it's simply just you. 'Cause sometimes we think we could turn it off like that, but that mask ain't cemented on. So sooner or later, some of your behaviors at home gonna filter down into other environments that you're not gonna be able to control. And once you accept that and say, "Hey, I did this. I provoked this. I started this," then you can move forward. But if you say, "No, no, that's just no, this dude did that. He did that. He did," and putting the blame on everybody else instead of saying, "Shit, I don't have good relationships no matter where I'm at," then you'll be able to probably get to the bottom of certain things. So be mindful of that, people.
Yeah, because that what a lot of people probably don't recognize, I would say, is that boys learn to be abused at a young age, and they learn in the home. So whether it's by them having to kowtow to their grandmother, have to kowtow to their mother, their aunt, their nieces, the older or younger sister, if they are made to feel and play second class, then it's probably a little too late for them to develop the um the language. Shout out to Dr. Tia San Johnson, the wherewithal to say, "Hey, look, I'm being mistreated because I'm a boy," and that it could really be as simple as that. And I know some people are saying that that's crazy, but what is the difference between a boy being made to settle than a girl being made to settle because she's surrounded by a bunch of males? Two things can be the same, can be mutually exclusive and correct. So just because you don't see it doesn't mean it can't be, and certainly doesn't mean it isn't. And that's why we're here. We're here to advocate for the boys who don't have anyone to advocate for them. We're saying, hey, look out. These are the signs of a boy and his confidence being crushed, being restricted and confined before it even has a chance to grow. Because trust me, the last thing you want to see is a neutered man. And that's not a pretty sight.
Yeah. So, folks, I mean, again, I always say we'll never get to the bottom of all this. We try to throw certain things out there, try to plant seeds, whether you see it now or you see certain clips and you go back to it. Um, it's there. And what I realize is we about I think nine some thousand away from having a half of a million views on YouTube. I don't give a damn what y'all say. A lot of times y'all don't say nothing. Y'all watching. Y'all just don't say nothing. Half of a million. That's work.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody viewing, they tuning in. I don't know where they at, whatever. Might not be the locals or whatever, or they may say, I don't want to click in because I don't want them to know I'm watching. I don't give a damn. Yeah, watch it because on YouTube it's almost a half of a million, almost 500,000. By the time in the end of August, it'll be over 500,000 views on YouTube that people are watching this content. I don't, I'm not, we're not getting paid for any of this yet. Haven't hit any monetization or anything like that. I always keep saying that shit. Once I get done with the school thing and I say what I want to say, shit, everything was. I'm telling it all. I'm telling it all. Not everything, uh, but I'm saying that all this to be saying that we put stuff out there for you to take what you want to take with it, and it's not talking out our asses. It's actual experiences. And no matter how you slice the cake or whatever, there's always going to be people that shit probably saying the same thing and they getting major views
Yeah.
and all that. And that's probably because shit, I ain't into all the graphics and all that stuff. This is just cut and dry, like just sitting back chilling and having conversation.
Yep.
Uh and that's what is at where it's at. Um so if that's you, shit, you coming through and you click like, damn, I felt that point, then you'll subscribe or you'll do whatever. But the bottom line is this isn't based off of what other people are saying and saying, "Oh, let me do a thing like this."
Yeah.
A lot of times, it's actual experience that we've been through or insight that we have, and we're talking about it. So, hey, we could be these old men on the porch talking. It's all good, all good, whatever. Somebody watching. Like I said, we almost at a half a milli on YouTube, and hey, that numbers like that makes me think, like, shit, you put in work.
Yeah.
Somebody's watching, and that's all that matters. I mean, I get paid on any job I do, so I don't. Some people, that's their sole thing, being content creators. That's how they eat or how they live. I do believe at a time that consistency breaks down resistancy, and that this will be a paid thing that you be like, damn, it took y'all stayed with it. Now y'all finally, yep, that's all it takes.
Hmm.
That's all it takes. Staying with it. Yeah. Right now, we ain't doing it trying to get paid. It's just trying to drop knowledge for people to change their behaviors or to get some understanding on certain things. And every conversation we have is legit and real and dealing with struggles that we face day to day. If you don't think that's a struggle, as far as hands off, hands up, uh, a rule book for boys to men, because eventually, if they struggle as boys, that same shit happen when they become men, and that's what we have, these broken homes and these homes with no strength because these men been made to be belittled ever since they were younger. Now they come in households and shit, and they still getting ran over. Some got to change. We just here to talk about it. Any closing comments from you, Big Bad Wolf?
All I'm gonna say is this. I'm gonna put it out there. Don't be surprised if some of this content you see comes in the book.
Hmm.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I ain't gonna say that. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
That is it.
All right.
Football season is quickly approaching. We all know what that means. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that mean if you seeing somebody, their ass is cut off, whatever. I hope you prepare to.
Well,
Hope
I
you pre-
they ain't been you know what the funny thing about ladies, let me give y'all some information. Facebook is a social media platform, okay? If the notion of quote unquote strange men in your inbox offends you, set your inbox up so you can't be contacted by men that aren't on your friends list. Because trying to out a man who's connecting to you or trying to connect to you via your inbox gives you a little bit of oomph. You got a sad life. And I'm here to say that because somebody tried to out me. I was like, yeah, I contacted her. So what? It's a social media platform. What are you supposed to do? So she tried to play the game on you, man. And I was like, look, I'm gonna drop dime on you. This is what I sent her. And it was just a greeting that said hello. I said, look, shorty, go back home. Some village is missing their idiot. Ladies, don't do that. I understand that there's some guys out here who are sending some unsolicited anatomy pics. Yeah, if you want to expose them, go ahead, knock yourself out. But somebody that's just trying to be cordial with you, you got no W's against somebody like me. Trust me. I'm in roast mode consistently. I just don't do it.
But remember, we just talked about from the show a couple weeks ago about the group chats and all that stuff that
Yeah.
people try to out you. That's just, I forgot what the title of the show was. I don't have my notes in front of me, but whatever, whatever the show was, and I hate that. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I need to have more organization. I need to have
Yeah.
like a big board with all the shows and like, oh, last week we talked about this. But whatever the case is, it was a point that we was making about group chats, and hold on, I ain't gonna let this slide. I got my stuff. I just did want to dig surface through it. Mm. Oh, ceasefire. Why band stop approaching?
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yep.
Because of that. So when you trying to out somebody and they haven't done no harm, no foul, and you want to spread it to the world, come on now. It's other shit you can worry about than somebody saying, "Hey, how you doing in your inbox or whatever." Like, get a grip, whatever. And what that shows me is your ass ain't used to nothing. That's what it shows me. Because if you used to something, you're like, yeah, I responded or I didn't, I kept it moving. When your ass ain't used to nothing, you got to tell the world or you got to show the world. So that's why I always say, humble yourself in certain situations. When you got people who got something or used to it, they don't have to advertise it. But when you out there acting a fool about certain things, you're letting the world know you ain't used to shit. You ain't used to shit. That said, we out. On to the next one. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe. Join the counselor's corner. You got any gripes or concerns, or you want to come on and you want to something you want to talk about? Feel free. Let's have at it. With that said, we out. On to the next one. Peace.
Take care.